Well, hi everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Life Matters TV with the Soul Talk guys. I'm Tommy Stoffel, coming to you live from Southern California. So good day, everybody. And I'd like to introduce my partner and co-host and producer and director and star and lead and everything of this show, David McLeod. Today we're going to talk about what, David?
Well, Soul Talk, buddy. We're going to be talking today about affirmations and how we can use those to improve our lives. And affirmations are a really cool thing, and I think a lot of people, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about how they work and what they can do for us and all this kind of stuff. So I really want to just dive in and spend a little time on that and share with people how they can create affirmations for themselves that can really, in my words, certainly improve and, in my words, supercharge their life. As long as they set up the affirmations in a way that is functional, highly functional, they can get really good mileage out of them. And as you know, Tommy, I've had this program called the Daily Affirmation Program that I've been doing for about 3 years now, and it's a free program anybody can sign up for. All I got to do is go to my website at magicofIam.com. And just navigate around. You'll find the link to sign up, and it's free. And you get a daily affirmation every day. Isn't that amazing? A daily affirmation every day. Now think about that. It's not a daily affirmation that's weekly. It's a daily affirmation that's every day, and it gives you an opportunity to really meditate on it and see how it resonates for yourself and that sort of thing. So that's where we're going today. I imagine you use affirmations and you support your clients in using those. Is that right?
First I was going to plug your stuff, the Magic of I Am affirmations. I get them every day. I look at them, and it's like something every day. And it kind of goes back to what we talked about a few weeks ago in Life Matters 360, and that we need to go into each room of our house every day. Our physical, our mental, our emotional, and our spiritual. And an affirmation for me covers a couple of those bases, right? Maybe it doesn't cover physical. Maybe I'm not getting a body workout reading an affirmation, but it's making me think about things, making me feel something, and it's also spiritually helping me connect. So we talk about some heavy hitters in the world of your house, your 360 degrees, how to be complete and whole. Affirmations are really powerful. And David, honestly, until I met you, until I started getting your affirmations, I didn't really have a daily kind of practice. I do things, I read a certain quote every day, and I do stuff like that. But I'm actually interested myself in hearing the power of affirmations and from your perspective, how it's a whole plan and a whole approach.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a great thing to put out. I mean, first off, how does an affirmation work? I mean, what does it do? I mean, it's just words, really. It's just words. How can that really have such an impact on me? And what I've been doing some studying on this. And, if you think about our thoughts, you think about our belief systems, they're tied together. They're tightly coupled. The more I think about something, the more it becomes kind of solidified in the synaptic structure of my brain. It becomes a neural pathway. It's just a way of thinking. Now, and that's kind of what happens. The more I dwell on something, the more I think about it, the more I begin to solidify it into a belief and something that I can count on in my life. So that's really what we're doing with affirmations, is we're trying to, instead of thinking unconsciously about stuff and letting those beliefs come into being in the dark recesses of our mind and driving us from an unconscious or subconscious way, what we're doing is trying to bring it into awareness, into our minds and into our hearts, so that we can start living according to that belief, the belief that we really want. Now, of course, there's a few gotchas in here. You don't just start saying a new affirmation and expect everything to magically change, because you've still got that thing underneath that you may not have looked at yet. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that's really it in a nutshell. That's how they work.
Well, and the whole point of Life Matters TV is to help get us out of that freaking nutshell. But that said, it's brilliant, David, because we don't always give enough attention to what we're thinking, right? And if we're not consciously paying attention to what we're thinking, here's what I tell people: our thoughts, and you were saying the same thing. Our thoughts, what we think about, leads to our actions, right?
Mm-hmm.
What we think about, we tend to do,
Mm-hmm.
and what we do or our actions lead to our results.
Yep.
So if you want to have a map of your life of how things are working from A to B, and how come you're getting the outcomes you're getting, and how come you're either getting the successes or the roadblocks, it starts with our thoughts. It starts with our imagination to some degree.
Yeah.
And just about everything. Well, there isn't anything that isn't nature on this planet that didn't start with somebody's imagination.
That's a beauty. Yeah, I like that.
So the house you're sitting in, the camera we're looking through, the computer we're looking at was all somebody's thoughts. So it's so important to manage those thoughts and to manage them hopefully in a positive light. Yeah. And so, David, you're laying a perfect groundwork here for that. For the start of our success and our results has to be in how we're thinking, and that's where the power of affirmations just sits right in our laps, right?
Right. And I like what you just said about the everything started from a thought. I remember I did a workshop a long time ago called The Power of I Am, and that was one of the precepts of the workshop. It was just take a look around you. Everything in this room, everything in this city, everything in this country, everything in this world started from a thought. And now, of course, people are going to argue with that and say, well, what about trees? And I say, well, do you not imagine that some form of consciousness brought that tree into existence? I mean, the tree itself seems to be a coherent form of consciousness. The clouds in the sky, I mean, all of this stuff seems to be some form of consciousness that maybe we don't fully understand because we assume all consciousness resides in the human brain. And I think that's a big mistake from a scientific perspective to imagine something so restrictive. But a lot of people believe that. So thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome. And you're dabbling into quantum mechanics now, quantum physics. Yeah. Because the scientists are proving to themselves that at the core of everything, there isn't the matter we think there is. Like a tree isn't made of solid matter. A tree is made of energy. A tree is made of energy with consciousness. Oh, yeah. So something is creating that energy and that vibration that becomes that tree. So whether it's a tree, but just to simplify for what we're talking about in our human nature, in our human form, everything that we see that's not natural, that's not nature, it's man-made, all originates from a thought. So we can start right there as a simple way without... Okay.
Oh, we could go down a long metaphysical discussion about this, and we probably will at one point. But you mentioned something earlier on that I want to just bring to awareness. You talked about, positive versus negative. And one of the things that I am aware of in my own experience is that my subconscious can't tell the difference between positive and negative. If I say, for example, let's say one of my things that I want to change is that I feel like I'm too fat or I'm overweight and I want to try and live a healthier life. If I say it in my mind and I develop this affirmation, I am not fat, I am not fat, all my consciousness hears is fat. It doesn't know the not fat from the fat. It just says you're dwelling on being not fat. You're dwelling on this idea. So what you need to do is you need to stop that, first of all. And rather than think about something positive versus something negative, simply say, what do I really want to create for myself in my life, and how do I want to show up? That's the real big question. And I think if you start from those two places, how do I want to show up and what do I want to create, then you'll naturally start creating the words that help to describe that state. I think those are the key points. So I just want to make that distinction between the positive and the negative.
Yeah, and maybe the words are, right. It can be confusing if you don't understand the chorus, but just the word affirmation, to affirm something, that has a positive connotation to it, right? You're affirming that you're that you're creating something, and you're gonna want to create things that are good for you, that are going to be better for you and better for the planet. So in that sense, when I say positive, I'm meaning generally good, generally better, generally affirmative type actions, which is common sense, right? You're not going to try to make a wreck out of your life and affirm that. But that brings up I think you said, how did you say it? You said something about creating what you want to create for yourself, and I want to dabble in that a little bit because I don't want to get away from the tree for a second. I want to go back to this creation thing.
Yeah.
As human beings, we are, as I can understand it right now, as far as I know, the only living creatures on this planet that have the ability to actually energetically create things in a conscious way. And it's through the power of our thoughts, right, that we want to make affirmations about, and the power of our emotions. When you put your mind in you put your whole heart into something, right? We say we put our everything into something to make it happen. Well, we're putting our thoughts, our thought energy, and our emotional energy into something. And to have that system is almost like I kind of think of it sometimes as energy converters. We have this ability to take in energy and convert it. And if we're converting it into positive, affirmative, uplifting things that we want, then that's how we create. That's how human beings create. And we have the ability to create things from nothing.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I mean, I don't know if I'd go quite so far as to say we're the only entities on the planet with that ability, but I do agree that we have that ability. Yeah. We humans are extremely powerful, far more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. And I absolutely agree that we have the power to create essentially from nothing. Although I suspect that many of our creations are informed by other creations that we have seen before. So there may be a kind of a chain of events that happens in that process. But really, what I think is important, the word affirm really means to declare as true. To declare something as true. Whether it's positive or negative is really in the eye of the beholder and in the eye of the person speaking it. Other people looking from outside may have their own interpretation, and they may see it as the opposite of what that first person thinks. So the question is, what is it that I want? How do I want to show up? And what do I want to create in my life? Those are the two questions that we're dealing with. And when I have an answer to those questions, what I can do now, I might come up with a great long list. What I want to do is I want to narrow this down to maybe a one-line statement. A one-line statement that I phrase in the present tense. Mm-hmm. And I start it with the two magic words, those two most powerful words in the universe, I am. And we had to talk about those very words, oh my God, months ago. One of our earlier episodes, like episode 9 or 10 or something like that, was about the two most powerful words in the universe. Now, if you take I am and then create the rest of your sentence around that, you are activating the engine of creation. Mm-hmm. And what happens is, it's way more, let me give you a very, very specific example. Let's say I want to create more money in my life. I have heard people say affirmations such as, money flows easily and effortlessly into my life. All right, that's not a bad affirmation. But really what I'm doing is I'm putting all of the onus on money to do all the work. When I can rephrase that in the form of an I am statement, such as, now this is just off the top of my head, I am an open, receptive, and magnetic attractor for all the money I need in my life. That's got a whole different energy to it. And now what I'm doing is I'm putting myself in responsible mode. I'm making it present tense. We'll talk about why present tense is important. We'll talk about why I am is important. But you can see the difference between those two affirmation structures.
Absolutely can. Absolutely can. And some of the words you're using there are attracting. I am attracting. I am, present tense, I have attracted, but something like that. But let's talk about that attraction piece for a second too, because if you say I don't want to be poor anymore. Like you said, you're focusing on the poor, on the poverty. I want to lose weight. Well, we're focusing on the weight. There's just the aspect of it. You can hear the inflection in the voice, right? It's like heavy,
Yeah.
or light, and it's what we're attracting. And I sometimes will imagine myself as like a little Pillsbury Doughboy looking outline figure, and I'm either radiating little plus signs or I'm radiating little minus signs or neutrals.
Mm-hmm.
But what I radiate, I attract. What I put out, I get back.
That's
what
right.
I give, what I give is what I get.
Yeah.
And it's so important to just ground that into yourself, and we have to become so aware of that in just about everything we do, because all of our thoughts lead to all of our actions, lead to all of our results, and when we're radiating thoughts and emotions that have little affirmative plus signs on them, that's what we're attracting, right? So,
yep.
So built into what you're saying in that beautiful description of how to start to construct an affirmation with I am is that attractive energy of it.
Yeah, and I remember when we had Bob Doyle on the show, we were talking about the law of attraction. And really, what I think we came to is what I attract into my life is what I am. We talked about that. That is the law of attraction. So if I say one thing, but I am another, guess what I'm going to be attracting? Not the words, but the who I am part.
Yeah.
And now Sarah Jane just made a comment here, and I just want to bring attention to it because I think it's very important, and I totally agree with her. She says, I don't believe you have to believe the affirmation when you start using it. You just use the affirmation to help you believe it. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, as we progress, but that's a very important point. The idea of an affirmation is to state in present tense what you want for yourself in the next moment. It could be an instant from now, or it could be months from now. It doesn't matter. The point is, you are creating, you're activating the reticular activating system in your brain is what you're doing. Opening up the possibility and inviting in some new version of who you choose to be next. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean it has to exist in this moment, even though time is really an illusion. But in this very moment, from your brain's perspective, you might look in the mirror and say, wow, I'm a fat pig. You may not have a very high opinion of yourself. But you may want to say, I am a healthy, happy, fit being. And it may not look that way at all in the mirror right now. But if you just keep saying it, and then as uncomfortable emotions start coming up, then you can look at, well, what is it about this belief that I'm having a hard time accepting it? Why am I not buying into this, aside from what the mirror is saying to me? What's underneath it? And this is where, Tommy, you and I have talked about this before, about getting underneath, what's our true feeling, if I want to be able to solve this, I have to figure out what my actual underlying belief is first. I can't change it until I know what it is.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. What's blocking me? What's blocking my true self? And here's something that I try to express and get people to understand that. And you say this too, David. That at our core, at our essence, at our I don't know how else to put it, but at our center. Remember that flashlight I pulled out of the cloudy brain and the clear mind, and then the flashlight? At that light aspect of ourselves, we are pure. We are beautiful. We are energy. We are peace. We are love. We are all these things. So it's not so much a struggle that I have to become something. It's that I have to just get back to becoming me and clear away kind of the crud and the muck and the mire. And that's where we can help and coach and help people do that. But that's it. And you have to have that core belief and understanding that I am a fit, intelligent, bright, loving, caring, amazing human being. Because you are. Mm-hmm. You are. and it's just a matter of shedding some stuff. So this affirmation is affirming what you am. You are already. I am this. No doubt about it. I am this.
Mm-hmm.
And now I just need to clear away some things and some blocks. Some, like, as you said, you feel some what maybe isn't right, what's blocking me, all that stuff. But at your core, you're that light already, right?
Yeah. Well, this is an interesting point. I think what we're talking about here is the underlying reason why affirmations fail. I mean, I don't think affirmations ever actually fail. What I think really happens is my shadow beliefs start coming up and saying, "Oh, this is never going to work. This is never going to work. That can't possibly be true." You're just a regular guy. You're not going to be rich. That's what the mirror is telling me. My own shadow. You're never going to be rich. You're never going to have all the money that you want. You're never going to be a fit, svelte, sexy man that women are going to want. That is all just ego mind, chatterbox bullshit, is what it is. It's your ego mind in its own very twisted and dysfunctional way trying to protect you from something, trying to protect you from getting hurt. But the truth is, it's a lie. It's a lie. The real truth is, as Tommy said, you are a wonderful, beautiful, magnificent being of light and love. And you just happen to be having a human experience here, just like the rest of us. So, don't be afraid to create an affirmation, to try it on, and let it have its effect on you. Because if you find yourself resisting, if you find yourself saying, "Oh, this just doesn't feel right to me," or whatever, well, there's two possible reasons. One is, maybe this really isn't part of your true path. That's possible. Mm-hmm. But it's also possible that it is part of your true path, and it's your ego mind that's, very subtly and quietly trying to distract you from it and say, "Oh, no, you're really just a loser. Forget about this." And so, yes, if you keep doing that, your affirmations will fail.
So let's turn them to the positive. Put them in present tense. As you were talking there about the truth of yourself, and I flashed back to Austin Powers, and you think of Austin Powers, right? And he's a short, not too good looking guy with bad teeth. Yet, man, his presence, right?
Yep.
His awareness, his presence, his light, his laughter, and just that creation that Mike created is a perfect example of, don't let your ego get in the way of who you are. Just shine on through.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby.
So Jules just asked a really important question here. I want to just get this out in the open. He says, is it important to say affirmations out loud, or do just thoughts work as well? Personally, I don't think it matters. I find I feel more energized if I say it out loud. I can feel my body. I can feel the energy moving in my body. But I've also noticed that if I just sit and meditate and let if I meditate on an affirmation and just allow everything to just flow, that works quite well for me as well. So either one can work. I don't think one is better than the other. I think you should try both and see what works for you. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would say there is, in order to remember it or make it real, right? If I'm trying to remember one affirmation or a bunch of affirmations to keep them in my head, they go through the rote thing and it's not as effective. So I write them down, or I put sticky notes somewhere, or I write it on my whiteboard. So to have it out somewhere where I can see it helps make it more real for me, because it's not just it's not just a thought in my head, but it's conditioning the thoughts in my head that way. Yeah. And so from that aspect, I would suggest somehow writing them down, speaking them out loud. Then think about that, right? If we're training our brain, which is what we're doing, we're training our brain. The more ways we can use to train our brain, whether we see it visually, whether we're writing it down, we have the physical aspect of writing it down, whether we're typing it, whether we're hearing our own voice say it into our ears, right? We're just strengthening it. We're just enforcing it. We're just making it more present in all aspects of our life. So do whatever it takes, to make them real for yourself.
Yeah, and as Sarah Jane says, perseverance is the key. because, as I said earlier on, a change can happen instantly or it can happen over a long period of time. One of the things that I've known to be true is that the moment I start meditating and reciting an affirmation for myself, I have started the process of creation for me. And that means that other things are going to come into my awareness. So for example, if my affirmation has to do with being fit, just as a simple example, all of a sudden things about fitness are going to be showing up in my awareness. Maybe there's a new kind of yoga showing up down the street that I hadn't noticed before. Or maybe there's a group of friends who say, hey, Dave, we're just going to do this fun walk-run thing to support breast cancer. You want to come with us? All of these things will just start showing up. And every one of them is just the universe saying, hey, you said you wanted this, so here you go. So pay attention. Pay attention. That's the key. And just, marvel at the beautiful wonder of the universe as it conspires to help your vision come true.
So, two amazing things. You said many amazing things there, but two that I want to start back with Sarah Jane's point of persevering. A couple reasons for this, right? There's so much going on in our lives that can distract us or tell us this isn't true, or to put the blinders back on. So to practice is really important. So to persevere, keep it up. Your daily. That's such a powerful gift that you give everyone, David. That you do this every day for us. You send us this affirmation every day that pops up on our email. We click on it and we read it. It's there every day. Back to 360, we have to go into these rooms every day. Got to just be reminded, because there's so much out there that's not reminding us of how to train our brains and manage our thoughts. So thanks, Sarah Jane, for bringing that point up. So important. And the other thing in there, David, you said what this affirmation is. It's an ask. It's almost like it's a request for the universe. And energetically, the universe has to kind of reply. And this is where this Marvel stuff happens and these coincidences happen. You ask, you're putting something in motion out there in the universe. I am boom. And you're going to start seeing things that are going to help you be boom. Somebody's going to hand you a book and you go, wow, I was just thinking about this. Yeah. Or you're going to have said something. So if you're setting intention, powerful affirmation, the universe has to answer your call. It's just the way it works.
Yeah. I like that. You use the word ask. I like the word command.
Well,
because I am in charge of the universe.
Okay, Dr. Evil. So, David, is there a process you want to actually teach? Do you want to just give people the ABCs of setting a proper affirmation?
Well, we already talked about this a little bit. First off, notice what it is you want, either for yourself or how you want to show up. You can do that at any time. I mean, you may be looking at your life and saying, I like this, I want to do more of that. I don't like this so much, I want to do less of that. There's something over here that's missing, I want to add that. And there's something here that I'm not really crazy about, I want to remove it. And this part right here, I love it just the way it is. So you've got those 5 things going on. And you just decide which of those is important right now. And then you can create a simple affirmation just by noticing what you want to do to amplify or improve that aspect of your life, and just try to rephrase it as an I am statement. Present tense. It's always got to be present tense. And the thing that follows I am should always be an adjective or a noun. If you say that there's this grammatical construct called a gerund, for example, I am willing, it's not really all that possible. I am walking, or whatever. You see what I'm saying? That's a gerund structure, and that's not really a statement of who I am. It's more of a statement of what I'm doing. So be really careful about the structure. I am followed by an adjective or a noun, and then how that shows up in the world. And I think that's the most powerful way to create an affirmation. So that's step 1. Step 2, sit down and recite this affirmation to yourself. I've personally found it very helpful to look in the mirror when I'm doing that and watch my reactions. I don't always necessarily feel the reaction in my body right away, but sometimes I can see it. I can see my face cringing a little bit, maybe, if it's not really resonating with me. Or I can see myself starting to light up. And when I see that, that helps to increase the flow of energy within me, and that strengthens the power of the affirmation. The more I can feel it in my body, the more I can solidify it in my brain and really start to come to believe it. And then I agree with a lot of the things that Tommy was saying. If you do things like write it down a few times, just handwrite it. It's kind of like in school when you say, I will not, talk back to the teacher. Well, if you write down your affirmation 50 times, you're kind of creating a muscle memory thing that strengthens the power in your mind. It can be extremely powerful. And those are the three things that I would do, and and also of course sign up for my free affirmations from from magicofIam.com.
David, why don't you type in the URL for that right now in the chat while I recap. You again, you're writing down. I don't know why my head's in TV land right now, and I see Bart Simpson at the chalkboard, writing 100 times something he's got in trouble for. But so I'm going to repeat what David said. Write, recite, repeat. So write it down. I am, adjective or noun, and then what it is that you are. Recite it, and you said in a mirror. Brilliant, right? Watch your reaction, feel your reaction, see how it resonates with you, and feel what's blocking it. You'll find some roots right there, some root causes of what might be blocking you. Fantastic. You'll get to know what's truth by feeling it. And you may also find that affirmation maybe doesn't resonate with you. Maybe your brain thought it was a good idea, but when you actually feel it, you're like, you know what? Maybe that one's not true for me. Maybe I need to reword it or restructure it. Yeah. So that part of that, and then repeat. So write, recite, repeat, right? So
but you forgot the rinse part. Right? Recite, rinse, and repeat.
Rinse and repeat. So that's fantastic. How are we doing on time, man? I'm looking over the clock.
We went a little over, but that's okay, dude.
All right, well, let's wrap this one up.
Alrighty then. Well, thanks as always, Tommy. It's just so much fun being on this show with you and sharing this stuff with all the folks out there. It's just awesome. And I guess next week we're going to be talking about attachment. I'll let you give a little bit of an overview on this one.
We're going to be talking about detachment. We're going to be talking about no strings attached in different aspects of life, whether it's relationship or stuff. The more we can detach from our need for things, the more free we are, and the more true and real those relationships become, whether it's with a person or even with an object. So join us next week. We're going to talk about no strings attached. And until then, love you all. Thanks for attending. And bye-bye,
everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Take care, Tommy.
Bye, all.